Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. True digital security absolutely requires a multi-layered approach. Today, we're going way beyond that generic IT advice you always hear. We're going to break down a truly holistic blueprint for your digital data defense. We're stripping away the noise, ditching the overwhelming jargon, and focusing on what actually works to give you control over your safety. So ask yourself right now, is your digital life truly secure? It's a totally simple question, right? But man, it has a highly complex answer. We live in an era where our data is literally flowing constantly across networks. Relying on a single antivirus software download, well, it's kind of like installing a massive, heavy bank vault door, but leaving the drywall right around it paper thin. Someone can just punch right through it. Enduring security requires a highly proactive, active approach. Okay, let's dive into this holistic blueprint. First, we'll look at the digital defense blueprint as a whole. Second, securing devices and software. Third, knowing your data rights. And finally, incident response and backups. Starting off with part one, the digital defense blueprint. Think of this like the castle doctrine. Maintaining your digital safety means you really have to combine active technical maintenance on your devices with a firm understanding of your legal protections. Moving right along to part two, securing devices and software. This is the technical pillar where your hardware and devices act as those crucial castle walls that need active, consistent maintenance. Now, we all know the myth. Software updates are just there to give us shiny new features or, let's be real, to super annoyingly rearrange where our favorite app buttons are. But what's really interesting here is the reality. Updates actually serve as critical security patches. They are your rapid response armor against new threats. Skipping an update means you are intentionally leaving a known, documented, zero-day vulnerability completely unpatched right in your perimeter. Definitely don't do that. Let's run through a quick, rapid-fire security health report. Having your software updated and an active antivirus, that's just the baseline. We need to go deeper. You gotta embrace the principle of least privilege with your app permissions. Restrict that background tracking. Make sure your firewalls are actually enabled and filtering traffic. And absolutely avoid jailbreaking or rooting your phone because that completely bypasses the manufacturer's isolated sandboxing. Set those devices to auto-lock quickly and you're off to a fantastic start protecting your hardware. All right, let's shift gears from technical defenses to part three and see how this builds into knowing your legal data rights. You see, keeping hackers out is really only half the battle. The other half is controlling the data you willingly hand over every day. Enter the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. This was a massive paradigm shift. It officially codified privacy as a fundamental human right, and more importantly, it established some severe financial teeth, penalizing companies up to 4% of their global revenue for violations. This landmark law fundamentally shifts the power dynamic away from the corporation and right back to you, the individual. So the crucial point is that you have specific legal powers to wield. The right to access and rectification, that means you can actually audit and force corrections to your corporate profiles. The right to erasure, often called the right to be forgotten, is your literal mechanism to completely scrub your footprint from a database. You aren't relying on a company's goodwill anymore. You have heavy legal backing to control, correct, or completely erase your digital existence. Which brings us to our final pillar, part four, incident response and backups. Because hey, even with strong technical and legal defenses, incidents can still occur, meaning you absolutely need a reactive plan. Even with flawless walls and legal protections, a sophisticated attack or even just a silly hardware failure is basically inevitable. Think of proactive defense as locking your house and backups as your spare keys. And this brilliantly illustrates why they are the essential safety nets guaranteeing you can recover your digital life without having to start from absolute zero. When an incident does occur, the NIST framework dictates clear, concrete reactive steps. Step one is containment. You need to immediately isolate affected devices from the network to stop the damage from spreading. Literally pull the plug on the Wi-Fi, disconnect fast. Once you've contained the threat, step two is recovery. This is where you rely on those spare keys we just talked about, using your clean backups to restore everything to its normal state. Let me say it clearly. Back up regularly. Maintaining regular backups is your ultimate fail-safe strategy for minimizing damage. To truly immunize yourself against nasty things like ransomware, you should really consider the 3-2-1 rule. 3 copies of your data on 2 different media types with at least one stored securely off-site or in the cloud. It ensures a total disaster remains just a temporary inconvenience. So, your blueprint is ready. You now have a complete, holistic view of the whole shebang. You know how to fortify your device perimeters, how to legally wield your data rights, and how to build a reactive incident safety net. The knowledge is entirely yours. So, what is the very first step you'll take to defend your digital life today?